Not completely on the hop, because they have been talking for several years about the fact that they might want to take the assembly rooms back from us to use for their own purposes. I think the issue was we thought we were such a good tenant with such a good provenance that we thought that was unlikely to happen.
You've only got a couple of years now to find a new venue.
That's right, especially as we have to be out before the deadline, because dilapidations, etc., have to be agreed. That's the handover back to them with repairs and management and all that. So yes, it's a very short time, and that means we have to start looking for long-term solutions, but also for interim solutions, because the long-term solution won't be sorted in 2 years.
Some people might say the council's short of cash. This collection is one of the finest in the world. Wouldn't you just benefit the coffers by selling it?
Absolutely not. That would be very much a short-term solution and it's selling the family silver. What the asset gives us is, first of all, it gives us an ongoing income stream throughout the years. It's a very successful museum. As you said, it's very highly regarded. We now have one of the best fashion courses in Bath Spa University. So it brings a lot of extra benefit to the council, added to which for all our own residents through the Discovery card can get in and see it free whenever they like.
You want to keep it, but you've got no money. What can you do?
Well, as I said, it does earn us money from the income that we get from people going in, from tourists and visitors. It's part of our visitor attraction. Bath has a very successful tourist economy, and there are other ways of funding capital. We could perhaps look for sponsorship, we could look for working in partnership with someone, but it is such an immensely important collection. You said one of the top 10 in the world, but it's number 2 in the UK, that we wouldn't want to lose it, because it's part of the mix that Bath offers the world.
Well, let's talk about those two terms, the short term and the long term. In the short term, does it just mean that after a couple of years we lose it for a while?
Well, we already do provide exhibits from the collection to a number of other museums and fashion museums and various bodies like that. We could look about having a moving tour. You know, we've had very successfully the dresses of Princess Diana. We had very successfully the dresses of the Supremes, and so we could look to see if we could put forward a package that we could also send round the country for other people to enjoy. But we certainly have to find some uses for what we have with our collection while it's not on public display in its current form.
And you've got to find somewhere to store it all.
Storage will be very important, because some of the items are very old, and so they do need special storage criteria. Yes, that's correct. That is an issue.
Can any of the other museums in B&NES help out?
I don't think so with storage, because they would have to have specially air-conditioned places built, and I don't think that's really what they would want to do. We are looking at all the options that we have for short-term storage and short-term management of the display. I mean, the stuff that is currently not on display is already stored and managed, so we do have experience of storing stuff that isn't in the public collection.
Now, the nearest place I can think of where this material could go is number 4, the Circus. The council owns it. You're a trustee, I understand, of the charity there. If Bath Spa were to move out, isn't there room there? I mean, the Fashion Museum already use it, don't they, for some of their repair work?
It's currently used. It's currently used by both the council and by Bath Spa University as part of its fashion course. So certainly that is an immediate option where we could keep some of the display on public view during the interim while we look for a permanent solution. So we've got a number of ideas that we're starting to kick around, and that will happen very quickly, because, as you said at the start of this interview, we don't have much time.
I was told by Brisley that they, a couple of years ago, offered the top floors to the Fashion Museum, but were turned down. Is that not another option?
That is certainly another option. That was in the previous administration, and it was without the emergency situation that we've got now of our pending leaving of the assembly rooms. So I think that's one of the things that I should go back and explore with our heritage services, but also approach Brillsey about seeing if that offer still applies.
There is also in the corner of Queen Square a redundant church which is up for sale. Holy Trinity, another possibility?
No, that has been sold. That has been sold. It's a very interesting point you should raise there. I actually asked exactly those questions 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I am meeting with the people who've bought it to find out what their plans are, because at the moment no one seems to know what their plans are. So I will be meeting with them shortly to explore what their ideas and plans are, and if their plans have a long time frame as opposed to a short time frame, then maybe that is another possibility that we can explore.
There are always mutterings about the fate of the old Qez School in Broad Street. Many people saying B&NES should introduce a CPO, a compulsory purchase order, and get it back from Sam Smith's The Brewers. Is this another possibility?
Well, councils can't just CPO at random. There has to be a process that goes through, and what I did ask about 4 or 5 years ago was I actually asked exactly the same question that you've just asked, can we CPO it? And at the time the answer was no, it wasn't part of a wider development. So that's another issue that we could look at to see if we can make it part of a wider development. Do we want to do something with Milson Place, which is struggling, and our own car park at the back, and create that wider portfolio that would enable that? So these are all possible solutions that we are going to have to explore and investigate and discuss with relevant landowners, etc., at the right time. So, the council can't just do things at will. It has to go through due process and do things according to the law.
I was going to mention Carluccio's, the closed restaurant in Milson Place, as being yet another option, but we'll leave that one for now. All right, we're talking short term. What would you like to see happen long term? I mean, is there any possibility we could get a brand new building?
That would be absolutely the ideal opportunity. A museum for Bath that had the Fashion Museum, all the artefacts that the council owns, the artefacts that other people own, such as the Abbey and other holders of large-scale information about Bath. Obviously, museums don't come cheaply, and so we would have to put up a very robust business case to make it stack up and be justifiable to council taxpayers, to the residents of Bath and North East Somerset, but also to our own corporate governance in view of all the other pressures that we have as a council.
Well, I know you're hinting about social services and how that gobbles up most of the money available to you, but is this maybe somewhere where our tourists, our hundreds and thousands of tourists, could help? Could they contribute towards the construction of a new museum?
One of the things that is changing very rapidly is technology, and we're moving on to i-permits for cars parking. We're moving, a lot of people now are getting used to having apps on their phones, and we could well do, as you walk past the Roman baths or other pressures, we could spring to alert with the app and say make a donation and see if we can collect donations that way, because that is easy. People don't have cash nowadays, but they do have a mobile phone, and people are generous when they've had a good experience. So we're going to look at a number of ways at seeing as how we can raise money for a project like this, but as you said, we would have to ring fence it and put it together so that it didn't get taken for other priorities. And also the other advantage that the council does have is that we do have land in the centre of Bath, so we don't have to purchase the land depending on the site that we looked at or where we wanted to put it.
The corn market.
The corn market is one that springs to a lot of people's minds.
It's the corn exchange and cattle market.
Corn exchange and cattle market. Well, the last administration sold the corn market. We have to look at what the current space is, and so that we know that there are options, but I'm not going to speculate on what all the options are. We will be having a paper that will explore all those options, short term and long term, and we will come back. But I think the message I would like to say is that one option that we are not considering is selling the collection.
Okay. Tourist tax, coach tax, other options maybe you could think about?
Tourist tax is something that a lot of people talk about. I think you'll find that our hospitality sector would have very strong views on that. So that there are, again, anything to do like that we have to discuss very carefully, and I have to also look at what the remit of the Wecker Mayor is, who has and where those responsibilities lie. There are other options to tourist tax, so that, for instance, if you look at European countries where they do charge tourist tax, they've had the infrastructure set up for years, but what they also do, their hospitality sector pays a reduced VAT rate. So that could be something that we go back to government with, because of course a reduced VAT rate on the hospitality tax sector means that immediately all our own residents would get cheaper meals when they went out for a night to the restaurant.
With due respect to every other cabinet member on this new administration, I think in many ways you've got the biggest problem, because this city depends upon its heritage for its income, and yet you're in a position of having no money to spend upon maintaining and enhancing it.
Well, first of all, the authority is Bath and North East Somerset, of which the city is only half. So we have to make sure that whatever we do benefits the whole of the authority area. And what is certainly true is that the heritage industry in Bath provides a very good amount of cash for the whole council to provide its services. So it's an important part of our income streams, and it's one that we need to grow as government, central government of whatever political persuasion reduces its grant to local government, and also at the same time seems to increase its responsibility on us, such as social services. So these are very complex issues, and certainly I will be looking to see how I grow the revenue that we get from tourism and from our heritage industry in the city of Bath to benefit residents across the whole of the authority area.
Watch this space.
Yes, I think so, that's it. But as you quite rightly say, I've got all the challenging bits and none of the money.